Hey bro, it's Pastor Steve here. First, I just wanted to thank you for all the help you've been doing. It's been tremendous what God's been working in our church. I know you've been really busy lately, but there is still some work we need done at the church before Sunday. I'll be there pretty late tonight. If you could help at all, it would be a blessing. Just give me a call back and let me know. Thanks. Take care.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Ministry in the Marketplace. How y'all doing? Let's see some snaps in the chat if you're with us. All right. So, welcome to Ministry in the Marketplace. This is going to be a very interactive session. So, it depends on your involvement and how I love the snaps. I see you all. Awesome. So, it really depends on how interactive you're going to be in this session. Hello, everyone. I'm Philip. I'm the USA Regional Director for Hyphen. You're going to be hearing from Kelvin right here, who's the Canadian Regional Director. And we're talking about, and you're going to hear from Jen, who has an amazing story, also part of the Hyphen national team. And we're going to dig deep into your purpose statement. By the end of this session, we're not just going to talk about things and leave. We're actually going to put some pencil to paper or some keys down to some digital notes and actually walk away with a little more clarity on what we're meant to do with our life, with our career and our ministry, how those connect, and what our big purpose is here on earth. So a big way we're gonna make this interactive is through Slido. So there's a link here. If you can click on the link or the blue link at the bottom, the green link kind of at the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Click on that link and we're going to test this out. All right. So this is how we're going to do. We're going to get some data from you. We're also going to be able to share and see everyone else's comments. So let me share my screen. All right. So we have one active poll right now. Everyone, you should be able to answer this one pretty easily. Where in the world are you? Where in the world are you? Y'all are so sharp. Florida's coming in. California's representing big time. Ohio, St. Louis, Arkansas, Kentucky, Maryland. Keep them coming. Portland, Oregon coming in strong. All right. Good. Come on, just 10 more seconds. You're probably logging in. All right, there you go. Good, good. All right, great. Y'all are good at this. All right, so this is just a test to get us kind of warmed up, to get us warmed up. All right, we're going to go to the next one. Wow, they're still coming. Okay, wow, here we go. Hawaii. Yeah. Not far from Honolulu. All right, you're just rubbing it in. I see. That's great. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, let's go to the next question. All right. Share a fun fact about yourself. All right. We're testing this out. Go as quick as you can. Share a fun fact about yourself. Fun fact. Love to travel. Yep. You know, you're probably not alone. I eat lemons whole. That's amazing. Now that should have been on the hyphen late night last night. 29, but Phil 89. Understand. All right, good. We got a lot of talents here, a lot of skills. Okay, good. 3D puzzles. Cool. All right. I'm a guy and I still have a teddy bear. Hey, you know what? Honesty is a great place to be here. I really appreciate that. Computer scientist, awesome. Love to paint at coffee shops. Very cool. Fun fact. Okay, y'all are doing so good at this. Let's keep it going here. Have you ever had a conversation or a meeting with your pastor about your education, career, or ministry? This is not open-ended, so you've got options here. Have you ever had a conversation or meeting with your pastor about your education, career, or ministry? Honesty is the best policy here. It'll help us all. You have yes, all three, no, but I'm interested. Yes to my ministry, but not my education or career. No, not yet. You have yes for my education and career, but not my ministry. No, and I'm not ready yet. You got options. Awesome. Okay, so we got a lot coming in saying yes, all three. We've got a lot of people interested. Haven't quite had that conversation yet. We see some that are saying yes to ministry, but not education and career. So that's interesting. We got some numbers still shifting. That's good. All right. Yes for my education and career, but not my ministry. Interesting. And not yet. And no, I'm not ready yet. Okay. So we got coverage from all these categories, which is really great. This is going to be helpful for our conversation today and for Kelvin, Jen, and I to kind of shape what we're going to talk with you about and how we're going to work together. All right. So let's go to the next one. This is really helpful. Share what you currently do for ministry. This is open-ended question. Share what you currently do for ministry. And yes, you can put more than one answer. If you submit an answer, you can go back in and put another answer in. All right. We've got social media, outreach, editor, writer, Sunday school, teacher, administration, media director, preaching, worship leader, administrative assistant, media director, hyphen coordinator, nothing yet but soon. Awesome. Well, we may help you kind of redefine that today in the session. Nothing yet but soon. Kids class on Sunday and midweek, Sunday school and a youth choir leader, youth pastor, drums. Here they're still coming in. Intern with nursery ministry. All right, media. Yeah, a lot of media these days, right? Media sound, worship team. Okay, good. Just 10 more seconds. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, we're getting a good cross section here. Next question, how would you define your ministry or calling? How would you define your ministry / calling? Here they come. Just what comes into your head? How would you define your ministry calling? Good. Oh, I like it. TBD. I like TBD. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have fun today. Teacher, bridge builder. Very interesting. Lifeline. Desire for souls. That's a good place to start for sure. Rounded and willing and available. Teaching kids. Cool. Still exploring some things. I like that. Multicultural ministry of some sort. That's interesting. Feeling that, sort of drawing you that direction. Helping while waiting. Wow, there's a lot to unpack there for sure. Teacher of creative fields. Very cool. Sewing, fashion, craft arts. Super cool. Yeah, hospitality, to make disciples. Yep. Serving and hype. All right, cool. Good. 5 seconds. Get them in. Feel called to reach people my age. Yep. College campuses, counseling. Awesome. Awesome. This is great. Awesome. Very good. Very good. All right, next. Sorry, we got to move fast. There's a lot to cover. What industry do you yourself identify with? What industry do you identify yourself with or would like to identify yourself with? Education and art. Okay, I see them coming in. Just go fast, 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 fast. Rapid answer. Good. We got some fashion in the house. More art, professional services, real estate, Christian music and entertainment, education field, health, government, international government, aviation, super cool, airline pilot. Counseling and music, accounting, law, language, human services, social entrepreneurship, whoop, soul winning business, medical, accounting, education, art, music, cooking. All right. Awesome. These are great. These are great. Come on, 10 more seconds. Electrical trade. Very cool. Very good. Very good. Wow. These responses are awesome. These responses are awesome. Education, health, love it. Okay, so we're going to come back to these in a little bit. We're going to come back. So reflect on these responses that you just shared. And we're going to be discussing, and I want you to think about that as Kelvin's going to share from his experience and talk about ministry and what that looks like and what that means. And as Jen talks about career and what that means. And then we're going to come back together and go deeper on this and actually dig into your purpose statement. So without further ado, I want to welcome Kelvin all the way from Canada. Take it away, Kelvin.
Canada in the house. I saw some people from Manitoba. I believe there's also people from New Brunswick, so represent Canada. Thank you for all the interaction in the Slido. It was so interesting to see so many different facets of people's ministry, so many different areas that you are interested in, focused in, live in, and there were all outstanding responses. And one thing that we want to really conduct in this session is understanding the challenges that we face when it comes to trying to find our calling as it intertwines with our ministries, our careers, our educational pursuits, and all of the above. One thing we want you to leave with is that life is not just about ministry moments or ministry opportunities, but your entire life is a ministry. Your entire life is the ministry, and God has set it in place for you. So oftentimes when we refer to the word ministry, I've heard it so many times, but we reserve it for the spiritual elite or the people among us that are called to ministry and are doing ministry are often looked at as people that are all in the front of the crowd, and which is oftentimes true. But with that, the concept of our divine call by God can oftentimes be misunderstood if we don't follow the path of the ministry that we have seen in the past. So the opportunity of understanding the call of God in a Christian's life can sometimes be confused with personal ambitions and dreams and desires. So at the end of the day, we need to understand that the purpose of our call, or even to be called to ministry, is not something that we created. It's not something that we create, but it is something that God places inside of us. I said it earlier, but let me repeat it. Our journey, our walk with God is not just about ministry moments and opportunities. And when we get those are great, but we need to grasp that your entire life is the ministry. I'm not here to preach or anything like that, but I looked at Joshua, one of my most inspiring characters of the Bible, and something that I noticed with Joshua, if you look at Joshua chapter 1, in verse 5 and verse 17, also in Joshua chapter 3, there's a statement that stands out. It says, "As I was with Moses, so shall I be with you." And it's like God is saying this over and over to Joshua. And as I thought to that and said, what does that really mean? I looked at it personally like, wow, maybe Joshua had a concept where he struggled with the idea of what was he supposed to do in the light of Moses. He struggled with that. Wow, Moses is such a great leader. He looked at the leaders ahead of him and said, I can't do this. I don't have the skills like Moses. I don't have the abilities like Moses. And it seems like God over and over keeps repeating to him, Joshua, understand, just as I was with Moses, so shall I be with you. And I looked at that and translated to our lives. And I've spoken to so many hyphens across North America and beyond. And this seems to be the understanding or the thing that keeps popping up. I see the people that were great ahead of me, but what do? I see my pastor that does X, Y, Z, but what do? I can't fulfill these things. And maybe it's true, you can't do what somebody else does, but there's something that God specifically has for you. And every experience in your life is pointing to the things that God wants you to do, the career aspirations that you focus on. We heard Sister Weezar talk about her legal background earlier in the sessions, and that is used for the kingdom of God. You heard about other people and their ministry pursuits. That is all a part of their life, which leads them to fulfilling the purpose. So your life is a ministry. Everything in your life, your experiences, your past, your instincts, the people in your life are all the road signs that are leading you down the path that tell you, this is what God wants me to do. And if you can identify that, you can understand and really live in the will of God for your life. I have an example. I heard it from it's not my example. I heard it from a preacher, but I think it's so good when it comes to understanding the balance between the call and the ministry, which they are different, but they, I would say, two sides of the same coin. So in this example, there's people in Africa, and they're looking to find an elephant. And on this journey, there's two people. There's a zoologist and there's a Zulu tracker. The zoologist is an expert of behavior. He's an expert of the sociology and psychology behind elephants. He's an expert of classifying animals, and he uses all of his expertise to track the elephant. So along the journey, he's sitting there and he's saying, hey, look at that tree over there. That tree is a tree. The branches and the leaves are the ones that the elephants typically eat. And look at the pattern of that grove over there. That looks like a place that elephants would sleep. And he would say, look at the prints on the ground. And he's explaining all of the environments around him. And he's saying, this is leading me to the elephant. While these guys are on a journey, the Zulu tracker is silent. All of a sudden, as the zoologist is speaking about all these things, speaking about all these actions, activities, the Zulu puts his finger on his tongue and puts it in the air, and he feels the wind blow by him, and he goes, look over there. The elephant should be there. You see, both of them were using their skills and their tools to get to the main objective, the elephant. I would say the Zulu is like your calling. It's the instincts. It's the things that God places inside of you. You can't explain it. Oftentimes you can't speak to it. You just know deep down inside that there's something that's pulling you to your main objective. And the zoologist is the ministry. It's the actions, it's the activities, it's the behaviors. If we could ever merge the zoologist and the Zulu in our life, then we get our instincts with the things that we do, we can find ourselves in the full will of God. When you were on the Slido, when you were writing things about your career, and you were writing things about your industry, and you were writing things about your ministries, can we propose to you today that those things all have something in common that lead you to the ministry that God has for you? The video showed it. Wherever you're at, you are that ministry. Whatever happens in your life, that's all experiences leading you to the thing that God has for you. I'll share one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jen to speak to ministry within the confines of her career, and also give you some good insights on how to minister wherever you're at. And in fact, let me tell you this: if you're led to something in your career or your industry, that's a sign that the harvest field is where you're at. It sometimes is beyond the four walls of a church, and especially in a pandemic, we've seen that we got to get outside of the four walls. So this little parable, little story is from a book. Jonathan Cahn has the Book of Ministries. It's a great little devotional book. Many of you might have it, but if you don't, you can go check it out. It's called The Moses Paradigm. And I thought it was so appealing and interesting for this short networking talk and conversation with you all. Everything in Moses' life was pointing to the signs of ministry that he would eventually do. So look at the parallels. Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt. But first, in his own experience, he was first led out of Egypt into the wilderness. How did he know how to bring the children into the wilderness, into the place that God had for him? Is because he first had that impact on his own life. Moses brought Israel to Mount Sinai to experience God. How did he know to do that? Because first, inside of himself, he actually went to Mount Sinai by himself and found God. So his experiences led him to the ministry that he had. When Moses first fled Egypt, where did he go? He went into the wilderness. And sometimes this pandemic feels like a wilderness, but there's only certain things that we can find in God only happens in the wilderness. And he had a covenant relationship with not only God, but he got married in the wilderness. So whenever he took the children of Israel out of Egypt and went into the wilderness, he knew he was there to bring them into covenant relationship with God. The last thing, which is outstanding, even before Moses even knew himself as a baby, his name is actually means drawn out. Pharaoh's daughter pulled him out of the Nile and saved his life. So when the time came, Moses knew, even instinctively, things that were inside of him, things that when he had it inside of him, he didn't even know, that he was supposed to pull the people of Israel out of Egypt. It was inside of him, and the steps of his life allowed him to minister in wherever he found himself. So as I close, if you're ever going to find your ministries, a few practical tips: find the things that you are interested in. Find the things that are naturally, as a natural inclination for you to be attracted to. Go to the Word of God. 1 Peter 4:10 and 11 speaks about each of us having a gift. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has a calling. Everybody has a ministry. Look for those things. Also, develop and grow your relationship with God. A lot of the information that we've been hearing over the last couple of days has been about growing our relationship with God. Whenever we find a depth in our relationship with God, we often will find our callings and our ministries. Understand your God-given desires. There's many things that you're inclined to that you really had nothing to do with. It's God put it in and placed it inside of you. Explore those things. And lastly, reason why we asked the question about speaking with your pastor, there are clues that your pastors, your counsel, your friends, people around you can pick up in you so that you can fulfill the call of God in your life. I haven't read this book yet, but I will promote it. I think I'm called What Do I Do Now? I believe it's Gary Dornbach and Brother Josh Carson. I noticed it several times in the Pentecostal Publishing House, but look for books, look for resources that can also show you the things that God has called you to do. So I hope this made sense for you in this first portion. We're going to turn it over to Jen, who's going to speak about ministry within the confines of a career and how you can still be effective. And she has a powerful testimony of what God has done through her. So God bless you. Hope that made sense. And Jen, take it away.
Hey guys, Kelvin, that was an awesome word. I could just have continued to hear even more about that. And I'm excited to speak to you all about how your career is part of building the kingdom. This conference is all about being the church outside the four walls. And who would have thought when our team was planning this event last year that we were actually going to be outside the four walls of the church, all across the globe here together. And that is so incredible. I think what is so awesome when we think of the word church is that we are the church. So whenever we step into our workplaces, our college campuses, into our homes, we bring the church to people. And I think a lot of times we may focus on getting people to church, which is still good. Don't stop inviting people to church. But we have to remember how important it is as someone who is filled with the Spirit that when I step into my workplace, that you already have authority when you step into that place, that you already are the church and you don't have to be timid or afraid when you step into your career. Something that we've already alluded to, both Philip and Kelvin have here today, is that your career and your ministry are not two separate things. They coexist with one another. A lot of times I think we separate the two into two different buckets. And that's why we ask those questions at the beginning of the session, because we think, okay, this is my ministry and this is my career. But in all actuality, those two things belong together. Ministry is not something that just happens within the structures of a church building. And I think if there's anything that we've learned in 2020, it is that. One thing I've realized is that where God has planted you, he's planted you there for a reason. So wherever God has planted you, that's where he's called you to plant a church, to be the church outside the four walls. Because when you recognize I am the church, so when I step into a place, I am planting a church. So church isn't just in a building. Church is in a park. It's in a parking lot. It's in a coffee shop. It's in your living room. It's in the backyard. It's over crowdcasts. It's in a workplace conference room, which is amazing, right? And one thing that I've really realized, and I really want to tap into this point when it comes to your career, is there's one word that I think is most important, and it's this word. It's simple. It's surrender. When you surrender your career over to God, you step into his purpose for your life. And God is as much concerned about your career as he is your ministry. So as you make decisions, whether it's choosing a major, internships you take on, jobs, whatever is ahead, surrender is absolutely key. As I was studying for this session and looking at the idea of surrender, I was looking and studying the disciples' lives and looking at their walk with Jesus. Now, when Jesus called them and he said, follow me, the disciples weren't like, okay, Jesus, hold up, let's sit down, let's pull out the 5-year plan. Can you write it all out? What's my position? What's my role? No, it was simple. He literally just said, follow me. And guess what happened? As they followed, when the disciples were walking with Jesus, revelation of their purpose began to unfold. They didn't know their purpose when Jesus said, follow me, right? They just knew this is Jesus. And that's why it's so important. The aspect of surrender keeps your eyes fixated on Jesus. And when your eyes are on him and you live in that posture of surrender, you know that as you walk, your purpose will begin to unfold. You may not know what that looks like. The disciples, I'm sure, did not know. They had no idea what the future was going to hold. But what did they do? They surrendered their plans. They laid them aside and they said, Jesus, I'm going to follow you. Whatever it looks like, I don't know what lies ahead, but I'm going to follow you. And purpose began to unfold. This is why daily prayer and our daily walk with God is so, so important. Keep surrendering every single aspect of your life to him, because the reality is this: we are all on the same mission. The Great Commission is that God has called us to make disciples. We are called to be disciple makers. Whoever you are called to be a disciple maker. We're all on the same mission. However, your purpose is unique to who God has called you to be. Some of you might be in a season where you're questioning and asking God, why am I here? What is the next step? What is the next decision? And this is what God asks of you and I every single day. You need to surrender that to me. You need to surrender the unknown to me. You need to surrender your concerns, every worries, and lay it aside at his feet. This is what I realized about faith. Faith is walking in the season that you are in without having to figure out what comes next. It's looking ahead and knowing, I don't know what's ahead. I can't see what the future holds, but God, I surrender this to you, because this is God's promise to us, is that he orders and directs the steps of the righteous. So you don't have to be afraid that you'll make the wrong step or make a wrong decision. You know that as you walk in obedience with God's word, that you are genuinely seeking after him and are in submission to the spiritual authority in your life, you can have peace knowing that the Lord directs your steps. I remember shortly after I graduated from college and I had a huge career decision to make, which would lead me to move out of state. There was a lot that was going through my mind, and I was reaching out to so many different people. I was talking to my family, friends, all these different voices, and I was getting different answers, and I felt very confused. And I remember one of my friends, I was on the phone with her, and she said, Jennifer, I'm going to hang up now. And that was not the response that I was looking for. I'm like, no, I need to talk through this with you. She said, I'm going to hang up now because you need to get alone and be with God. You need to go be alone with God and be still and fixate your eyes on him, because as you do, your pathway will become clear. And you don't have to be afraid that you'll make the wrong decision, because he will lead and order and direct every single step. There is a reason God has placed you right where you are and given you the gifts and passions that you have. God has given you unique giftings, a unique skill set, a unique personality, maybe some unique quirks, and a unique purpose. This was discussed earlier today, and about the idea of comparison. I think in the day and age that we live in, especially in a digital age, it is so easy to get caught up in comparison. Don't look around at the people around you and try to figure out what your specific purpose is. I think a lot of times we're looking to the left, we're looking to the right, and we're saying, okay, this person's doing that, this person's doing that. Man, you know what? I wish I had their ministry. I wish I was doing what they're doing for the kingdom. And we'll start looking at what those around us are doing. But God is saying, you need to keep your eyes on me. You need to seek first the kingdom, because as you seek first the kingdom and keep your eyes on him, you'll end up stepping right into his purpose for your life. If you get so focused on what those around you are doing and get weighed down by comparison, you could end up living out someone else's purpose instead of your own. And that is not a place you want to be. But when you seek God, rather than looking at what those around you are doing, rather than looking for affirmation, you will discover what your given purpose is. As I was praying for this week, there's something that God planted in my spirit, and I don't know if this is for one person or for multiple people, but there's someone who has been asking God, what is my purpose? Or feels that they have no purpose. And I want to tell you this, you are a child of God. So as long as you are a child of God, you have purpose. God has given you unique purpose from the very beginning. Adam was given purpose as soon as he was created, because we come from a God who is our creator. Since he is the creator of all creation, all creativity, he has created you with purpose. So those lies that you may be believing where you're like, I don't have a purpose, I don't know what does that even look like? God is saying, keep your eyes on me, surrender those thoughts, those emotions to me, because you have purpose. And especially in this season, if you have the Holy Spirit, you have a light that shines so much brighter than the darkness in this world. So wherever you step into, God is going to continually, as you walk, just as the disciples did, revelation of purpose is going to begin to unfold. Ephesians 2:10 states this, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. How incredible is that? You and I are God's masterpiece. You are a masterpiece, not a part of the masterpiece. You, as a child of God, are a masterpiece that God is wanting to do things through you as you begin to just surrender them and begin to just let go. He will take you to places that you never thought possible. There are spiritual giftings that he is going to pour out, and a gift is meant to be protected and taken care of. You may be in a season, I think a lot of us are, where we don't know what the future looks like, but we have the confidence in Christ alone. And Isaiah 55:8-9, this is one of my favorite verses, says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. There are times where things happen in our lives and it doesn't make sense. And there may be things that happen in this life that we won't understand this side of heaven why it even happened. But as long as you keep putting your trust in God and his word, you can be reassured that his thoughts are higher than mine. His ways are higher than mine. And what matters above all else is that you are stepping into God's purpose for your life. We're talking about career here too with this, and your career may change many times. Your major may change many times if you're in college, but your career may change many times, but your purpose remains the same. Kelvin and both Philip mentioned that I do have a little bit of a testimony about what God has been doing in my workplace. And I was sharing it when we were kind of planning for this session. And so I just want to share this in hopes that it encourages someone. But I work in the advertising industry here in Los Angeles. And how I got there is a God story in and of itself. And it's been one of those things that you're in an environment that is so very contrary to what we were talking about earlier, kingdom culture. It's this culture that can just drag you down, and you can get discouraged in your workplace as you have people who have values and ideals, and you feel like things are just hopeless and so far gone in a certain type of environment. But a couple of years ago, there was a group of us that started meeting for prayer on Monday mornings. And long story short, we actually were not allowed to even meet. We got kicked out by HR when they found out we were meeting for prayer. So we went to the next best thing, which was the Starbucks across the street. And we kept meeting, and we were like, you know what? We have authority to speak things out of this environment, especially being here in Los Angeles, to go into our workplace, because greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Do we actually believe that? I think sometimes we step in and we feel like I'm on the defense, and we have to feel like I have to come up with some like, oh, well, this is why I believe this, or, you feel timid and shy, but greater is he that is in me. And God will give you authority as you step into those places. And so we began to speak that. The motto actually for my company is nothing is impossible. And we were like, that is something that we as believers, we know what that means. And I was like, well, you know what? They think about it a different way. But as I step into my workplace, I can claim nothing is impossible in this place. Fast forward 2 years, COVID hits, and we continue to pray. And my CEO actually learned about it. And he ended up reaching out and over a conference call with 500 plus people said, thank you for the prayers. There's a group that is praying over this organization. I want to thank you. In an advertising agency where God, religion is not mentioned at all. It is put into a closet. And God has begun to shift things around. We had a CEO, another executive leader reach out and said, we need to start a Bible study at our agency. For the last 2 months, we've been having a Bible study. We've been having people who are new believers who don't know what they believe. They want to learn about Jesus who are coming into our meetings. And I know this is just the beginning, but you know what happened? What it started with was prayer. It started with prayer. And I think we get discouraged when a month goes by, a year, 5, 10 years go by, and we don't understand what is God doing in this season. But let me tell you, he is still working. When a farmer plants seeds in the spring and fall comes around and he has no harvest, it doesn't mean that he's like, springtime rolls around the next year and he's like, oh, I had no harvest last year, so I'm not going to plant some seeds this year. No, he continues to plant seeds, and that's what prayer does. It's persistent prayer. You continually plant seeds, and in due time, Galatians 6:9 says, and let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. It is his power working in us that leads to transformation around us. So I just want to encourage you as you step into your workplace, understand the authority that you have. Begin to pray. Lord, there's a reason you've placed me on this career path. It may look different from what others are doing, but I know, God, you've placed me here for a reason. And I'm going to continually believe and step forward with you, because as I do, purpose will unfold. Lives will forever be changed. You may be the only church that people ever step into, but you can begin to just proclaim and allow the Holy Spirit to lead the way. I have watched, as if you joined our hyphen late night last night, you may have heard that I've written a few books, and I actually write historical fiction with that have Christian themes, and to be able to just reach other people who may not be Christians at all. And it has allowed me, even in my own career field, which is a creative field, to be able to minister to atheists and agnostics in my industry. I talk to people all the time who are like, I'm an atheist. That shouldn't make us afraid. Because through the love of God, as you build relationships with people, they will come to you. As you build relationships with people, that has been a common theme. That as you build relationships with people, God's purpose will continually unfold in our lives, as we see lives will be just changed. And I think that is so powerful. God gave me the gift of writing, and that may be your gift. God has so many other gifts that he has poured out upon you. That's why I said, don't look to the left and right about what other people are doing, but what is the gift that God has given you? And as you examine that, God, and you surrender it to him, and you say, Lord, I surrender this gift to you. He's going to use it to minister in places to people who you thought there's no way I can minister and reach them. I was in a creative meeting with 120 people in my agency, and I had the opportunity to speak and share a little bit about my life. And I was praying about it, and God said, you've built relationships with these people, and you speak to them in a way that they understand and can see my love. And I said, the reason why I believe we're all creative is because we come from a creative God. And I had people who reached out to me afterwards, and I was like, that is what is so beautiful. Is there's a reason he's placed you there. I thought 3 years ago I should have left. I wanted to leave. I didn't. I was like, Lord, this environment, this is a lot. He said, keep surrendering to me. The areas where you're feeling weary and broken and tired, surrender those to me, because he's going to give you strength. It says that the work is light, and sometimes it feels so heavy, but we can surrender it to him, and he will continually allow things to just unfold and move and work, just as it did in the book of Acts. Keep your eyes fixated on Jesus. And as you do, you will continually step into his purpose for your life. And knowing what your why is so, so important. So today I am so excited because we have the opportunity to discover and think more specifically about what your purpose is, what my purpose is, and the greater mission of things. So Philip, who is here with us today, is founder of Impact Junkie. He is an entrepreneur, incredible guy. If you sit down with him for just a few minutes, you'll see his story is awesome. So he's going to walk us through today creating our purpose statement, because we want you to walk away with something tangible. We don't want you to just leave inspired today. We want you to walk away with a resource for your personal life as you step out onto your mission field each and every single day to be the church outside the four walls. So if you don't have any notebook paper on hand, definitely pull that out, or just an iPhone, whatever you have to take notes. And I'm going to hand it over to Philip, but thank you guys so much for being here today.
Awesome. Awesome. Snaps for Jen and Kelvin. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow. Powerful and so right on point with this entire theme of this entire conference about releasing. We want to be released out into the world. And right now, more than ever, I like how someone put it this morning, our cocoon. I think it was Kelvin. And sort of how are we going to emerge from this different? So this is right on point with where we are. As she said, get a pen and some paper ready. We're going to jump in here, and I will kind of guide you through this, actually talking about your purpose. Can you help with the screen? All right, cool. Can everybody see the screen all right? We're going to go through this. So here is what we're going to talk about, your purpose. Yeah, WordPad, that's great. Any kind of digital is great. If you have physical, some people like that, a journal, something you already are writing in, this would be a great time to grab that as well. Can everybody see the screen, the text on the screen big? Is that all right for everybody? All right, so here's what we're going through. Your passion, purpose, and calling. It's actually connecting all of these as we've been digging into here together. That's where we're going. And today, by the end of this session, we're going to actually work on this formula. All right. We're not going to do this a complete justice because there's so much we could dig into. We could spend weeks, and I want you to continue on after this, continuing to dig into this. But we're going to work on this specific purpose statement. I want to help blank to blank because blank. There's all the hyphens there that you're going to be able to fill in. And we're going to work through that together today. And as we've heard, sometimes we have sort of ministry, what I have it defined as impact over here on one side of the fence, or this wall in between, and then business or career on this other side of the fence. And it can seem that way. And maybe we actually make a step closer and say, well, we love the career and the education, but your job is just to stay over there on that side of the fence, or my job is just to stay over here. I just make money and kind of throw it back over the fence so that someone else can do the ministry. Or as we've heard, we have this sort of compartmentalized view of, well, this is my church life. This is my career life, right? This is what I do the rest of the days just so that I can just do this small thing over here that I call as ministry. When in fact, God is calling us to so much more. And that's what we're talking about today. And this is what it all comes down to. If we step back from all of this, it's all about your Matthew 25 moment. And Matthew 25 is when, according to Matthew, right before Jesus was about to go be crucified. This is it. I'm about to go die for your sins. This is all of the laws being fulfilled. All of this is the prophecies. But before I do this, I want to leave you with a few stories, right? And two of those stories, the parable of the talents. And he's saying, I'm going to give you some things. I'm going to give you, and it's really a fortunate translation for us that the word talents was used. But I'm going to give you some things, and then I'm going to come back and see what you did with them, right? And then right after that, he did this sort of 1-2 punch where the next one is, it's not as much a parable as if you read it sort of like, and this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to go down. And I'm going to come back and you're going to stand in front of me and say, what did you do for those, the least of these, right? For the hungry, thirsty, and need, but you were really doing it for me. And when you think about, wow, how in awe we are that the Almighty Creator God robed himself in flesh and came and died for our sins. He paid the ultimate price for us. That's crazy. What's even more crazy that he rose again, and then he sort of tossed us the keys. And he said, what are you going to do until I get back? I'm going to be coming back. But while I'm gone, I want to see what are you going to do? And it's all going to come down to this moment. Every second that we spin around this earth is going to come down to this one moment. And there's going to be whatever virtual holograms or instant replay or the book is whatever. And I kind of like to imagine a screen or something pops down and or it's some sort of visual, and there's all these highlights from your life. And what's going to be on your instant replay screen? What's going to be on your highlight reel when you stand there in that moment? And bringing it more home when we're talking about career and ministry is, if someone in your congregation, in your church, went to your LinkedIn profile, would they recognize who you are? Would they go to your LinkedIn profile and say, this must be someone different. I don't know who this is. And would they say, oh, well, what I've heard, I haven't heard anything about what their professional life. What a missed opportunity that could be. And one thing I want to encourage you all is, when you're talking about career and ministry, you don't have to feel as though, well, I gave all these things up to go into ministry. When in fact, everything, as we're hearing today, everything that God, every step is God building you one step closer to your ultimate purpose that he has for your life. And they say there's the two most important days of your life. One is the day you were born. And the second, what do you think it is? The day you discover why you were born. That's what they say. When you discover what your purpose is. And when you link your passion, purpose, and calling, that fire that's lit up inside of you, that God has been planting in your heart all this time, actually comes to reality. And this is a number I want you to reflect on coming out of this session, is 29,000 days. This number represents all the days of your life. If you live to be about 80 years old, you've got about 29,000 days. But then you've got to subtract all of these days. Right off the top, you've got to subtract a third for sleep. You've got to subtract almost 4,000 days for work, 3,000 for chores and errands, eating and drinking, education, social media. That's probably on the rise. Over a year of your life using the restroom. Wow, think of that. And depending on where you live, sorry, Jen, in LA, it may be higher than a year of your life sitting in traffic. But imagine, once you subtract all these days, you're left with about 5,000 days left. And that can scare you or inspire you to think, wow, I've got to make the most of every day that I've been given. And what if, and many of us have probably already lived a quarter or a half of those days. But what if you didn't have to subtract your work and subtract your education? What if those could actually, the way you see that is those are actually building towards your purpose and what God's actually calling you to do with your life. And that's what we're all about, that Matthew 25 moment. So to help us figure out our purpose, one of the things we want to spend time digging into is your story. What's your story? And to help us through this, one of the exercises we're going to very briefly, but is the chapters of your life, and where you can start pulling the themes from your life. I know some of you in the Slido initially said, I don't know, but I'm getting there. Or you feel a shift coming soon. That's great. You can look back. The way God set this thing up is we don't know the future, but we can understand and learn from the past. So we're going to dig into the chapters of your life and the themes that start to emerge when you see these chapters of your life that can continue building. And so for me, I'll share with you faith, education, design, service, public speaking, community are a lot of themes that have been built up over time in my life to help define, and it's a continual growth process, but to help defining what I'm meant to do in this world. And this is a funny thing I do. This is pictures of my feet. And this started, I don't know how it started. It was sort of an accident, but I started doing this in my travels and at events and in really special moments to just stop and have a little time where I would remember what it felt like in this moment. Some of these moments were scary. Some of these were very exciting, adrenaline. Some of these were funny, and very, very special in many ways. And I could spend a lot of time talking about these moments. But in your life, I challenge you to think about these moments, these dots in your life that have helped define who you are. And we've heard this repeated through multiple sessions today by looking at what skills, what things have I built up over time? What has God brought into my life, right? What's the next thing? And continuing to walk, take that next step. Even though you don't totally understand the future, you don't have to, and you never completely will. That's the way God set this thing up, with faith. But if you take the time along the journey to reflect and look back where he's brought you, it will help you better understand your future. This is how I ended up, this is working with pastors and leaders in this village in Central America. If you had shown me this picture, I wouldn't have known how I would have got here or how even to begin. And if you'd shown me this picture standing at Harvard Yard, giving this commencement speech, this was a scary, crazy moment and a clear chapter close in my life, that I felt called to government and to higher public service, and education was important. I had no idea 5 years later, if you'd shown me this picture, how I would have got here. Or in the West Wing, me acting like I'm not taking a selfie in the Roosevelt room, taking a stealthy. And then 3 years later from giving that speech, actually helping launch our first clean water venture, working with a church, a school, and an orphanage in Haiti, to empower those in Haiti. And it was 3 years to the exact date that I stood on that stage, gave that speech and said, let's go serve the world with passion, that I didn't realize 3 years to the exact date, I'd be standing in mud, helping live this out. After going to work in government and working from the Pentagon to the White House, and all of these things, God has brought me to where I am. Being in an adult-sized ball pit at NAYC. And here's the question: what are you meant to solve? We're going to talk about this a lot. This is the problem, the what. All right. We're going to talk about your why, and then we're going to talk about your what, and then we're going to talk about your who. So why have you gotten where you are? And what are you meant to solve? When you think about that Matthew 25 moment, what are those things along this journey that God is calling you to solve, and calling you to work towards? This is one exercise I hope a lot of students with, is this chapter, life in a slide. And I could take you through, being a PK, growing up in a pastor's home, how community and this theme started to develop, to entrepreneurship and this theme of feeling like God's calling me to business and to help the ministry in this, but not fully understanding, and how can that even be a thing? What does that look like? And education being a big part of my life. And I can talk you through each of these chapters that are really influential. And you all want you to do this as well going forward. We don't have time to fully do this today, but we're going to start. And I could tell you that whole story, and then it sort of makes sense. Oh, of course you're sitting here in this, working with these pastors, starting businesses in the southern part of Central America. It makes sense when you look at it looking backwards. Or being on the back of an elephant, crossing crocodile-infested waters, or roasting marshmallows with entrepreneurs in the middle of the jungle. And I think of all those potential comfortable moments where I could so easily get lulled into the comfort zone, and maybe the salary and the golden handcuffs. But really, I love the word surrender that Jen said, is if you really say, God, is this really where I'm supposed to be? I'm starting to feel comfortable. I don't want to get sucked into this. I know you've got me, calling me for more. I don't want to have a job just to have a job, but I really want to be, I want to be ready for that Matthew 25 moment. And when I look, I can't imagine staying in those comfortable moments where I had the temptation to stay there without seeing all these faces and all these experiences that God had just waiting, and all the people he had just waiting. And think about all the people that he has just waiting for you to step up. So we're going to end with the who, and who are you meant to serve? And you think of all the faces, and it's led me to places that I would have never seen before. And I want you to go through this in your journey, in your story, in universities and governments and the State Department, and so many things that have opened up that I never would have imagined. I don't have time to tell. But here are three things I spend a lot of time on. Is God nods is one thing. We talk a lot about God nods. And it's this feeling of you never totally know if you're 100% right, but God will give you a little signal. right? You step out by faith, you're scared out of your mind, you're out of your comfort zone, and then God will come in and gives you like a little nod, like, I see what you're doing. Keep going. I've got your back. And you're like, okay. And it gives you just enough confidence to make that next step into the abyss. And then sometimes you hit that favor flow where you say, oh yeah, the favor flow, where you just feel you're just in sync, everything is working. And then it kind of cycles back to like, God, I just need a little nod, just a little something. Is this the right direction? I'm really stretching out here. And these themes that will continue to develop as you reflect on your story. So let's dig into this. And we're going to use the Slido. Is everybody with me? Can we see some snaps? Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to work on this. Finding your purpose statement. And we're going to answer this. I want to help blank to blank because blank, right? The hyphens. We're going to fill this out. I want to help who to what because why. All right. And we're going to fill this out from right to left. So we're going to go what you might think is sort of a backwards process. And this is a much longer, extensive process, but we're going to jump into it. And I want you to continue on. And we're going to have a challenge for you here at the end. 3 challenges for you to go forward. So number 1, let's start with your why. Okay. Your story. What is your why? What is your because? All right. You have a God-inspired story to help those, right? You are called to help. So if your life was a book, here's what I want you to do. Write down 1 through 5, or you can go to 10. But let's just start. If your life was a book, we're here a lot about writing. List out some of the chapters in your story. List out some of the chapters in your story that stick out the most to you. We'll give you 30 seconds. You're going to go fast. List out some of the chapter titles, not the whole chapter, just the chapter title. If you had to summarize these sort of blocks in your journey, this God journey that he's taking you on, what would you encapsulate that time frame and what title would you give that? Okay, so we'll give you 30 seconds. You can write it down, and we're going to reactivate the poll so you can share on Slido. We would love for you to have you post them on Slido. So take 30 seconds, write down some of your chapter titles, and then feel free to share those in Slido. What would be your chapter titles? Some of these moments, maybe the most painful moments, you may want to try to ignore or try to block away, but that might be the very thing God has called you to solve for others. So you don't just need to put the beautiful chapter titles. Put the painful chapter titles that you've grown through. If there's confusion or uncertainty, those are beautiful feelings as well that God is helping you grow through. So if you have a paper, you can just number those chapter titles out. If you want to go in order, you can go out of order. But if you think of your life as a book, what would the chapter titles, if you're looking at the table of contents of your book so far, what would be some of the chapter titles? And if you want, you could write some of your hopeful future titles, chapter titles. Awesome. Wow. I love these chapter titles coming in. Growing in faith, suicide at the altar. Now that sounds, I'd want to read that chapter. Redeemed by a song. Beautiful. I realize this is not fair. This is one of the most difficult exercises to go through, is to try to put your life in 30 seconds into 5 bullet points, or 5 to 10 bullet points. It's very difficult. You all are amazing. Beautiful. You know, there's so much noise. Sometimes just stopping to reflect on where God has brought us and where he's trying to take us can be so powerful. Save us so much time and stress and worry. Love these titles. Love these chapter titles. Awesome. All right, so we started with your why, and now I want you to reflect on this question. What part of your story drives your passion to help others? What part of your story drives your passion to help others? Was there a moment you can go back to? Was there an event in your life? Was there an experience? Was there a family experience that's motivated you? What part of your story drives your passion to help others? We're not going to do this now, but one of the most beautiful exercises I love and I encourage you all to do is to write letters to your future self. And this has helped me a lot. I have a lot of notes and a lot of journal entries that say, "Dear God" and "Dear future Philip." And just talk about how you're feeling, your uncertainty, your questions, your excitement, your anticipation, the energy, what you hoped in your next chapter will happen, what you hope won't happen. And then go back and read those letters years later. It's the most amazing experience. And it also helps you stay focused and realign over time. So letters to your future self. Okay, we're going to move on. This is so wonderful. And I'm so sorry we have to move on, but we're going. Okay, and you can continue working on this, and we've got a challenge for you to keep working on this. So the next part of the filling out this is your what. Your what. What is the big problem or need that you feel called to help others with? So here's the question. What big problems do you feel called to solve? We're going to switch the Slido to share your what. What big problems do you feel called to solve? You can list out 1 through 5 just for the sake of time. It may just be one. You may feel you have one, you may feel 5. But based on your story and your why that we've just been working on, now let's talk about your what. Building on that, on those chapters of your life, what do you feel called to solve? What is your God-inspired purpose? Try to go specific. Challenge yourself to go a little more specific. You can go broad and then try to narrow it down a little bit. Ask yourself, well, why is that what I feel called to solve? Awesome. All right, 20 more seconds. No big deal. Just what you're meant to solve in 20 seconds. This is powerful. This is not just a nice, sweet thing. Oh, it sounds nice. That's really sweet. You're going to have a conversation, that Matthew 25 conversation about what you're putting down here. This is powerful. Powerful. Okay, now we're going to build on this. We're going to build on this, and we're going to go to the who. We're going to go to your who. All right, so we've talked about your why, your what, and now we're going into your who. Who has God called me to help? List out the people you constantly feel served, feel called to serve in your life since you were a child. So we're switching to who. List out the people you constantly feel called to serve in your life since you were a child. We're working on your who. There's some deep things happening right now. I can feel it. Awesome. Keep them coming. 20 seconds. The people you constantly feel called to serve. Love it. Mothers in prison. Teenager, hyphens, college students, children, foster children, poor and needy, the hurting, people in my current season, millennials and Gen Z, intellectuals and professionals, the Bay Area, families, Spanish speaking, people of color community, the broken and the poor, teenagers with dreams and goals, people who feel alone, people in my workplace, professionals in the creative industries. Awesome. Awesome. I love, it's okay to go broad, but as you continue to narrow it down, it even helps even more. It's a great exercise. I see some very specific audiences here that you're working to reach. That's great. That is great. Okay, now I'm going to go through some questions. You don't have to put this in Slido, but I hope you put this in your document, either physically or a digital note. Here's the question I want you to ponder for a second is, looking at these people that you just listed out, the who that you feel called to serve, the question is, are you currently helping them in your ministry? You don't have to put this in Slido. Are you currently helping them in your ministry? Then the next question is, are you currently helping them in your professional life? Are you currently helping them in your professional life? All right, next question. You can put this in Slido. You can do a list of 5 again. What skills and talents do you have to help them? Take 30 seconds. What skills and talents do you have to help them? Going back to your why and your story. What skills and talents do you have to help them? Awesome. Keep them coming in. We're getting close here. We're getting really close. Awesome. Looking back over your story, the chapters of your life, what you've picked up along the way, these could be experiences, could be expertise, could be education and training, maybe something you've gone through. We work with a lot of military who've gone through a lot, very difficult situations and dealt with death and suicidal thoughts. That's something that you have to help others, that experience. Awesome. Okay. Y'all are doing so good. All right, here we go. We're going to move to the next question in 5 seconds. All right. Got it in. All right, next question. Do your ministry and career seem to match in who you are helping, or are they very different? And if so, why? Do your ministry and career seem to match in who you are helping, or are they very different? Do you feel like this is my ministry box over here, my career box over here? Where's the way that they can be shared, working towards what God is calling you to do? Do you feel maybe like I have to shut off my church life because now I just have to go back into this world? Is there a way you could overlap them better? Good. You don't have to share this all in Slido. Awesome. I love these responses. I see some ideas forming, some new ways of thinking about how you spend your time, the limited days that you have. I see it. I love it. Awesome. This is beautiful. Love the honesty, the openness, and no one's completely figured it out. So there's not like a yes, I've got it all perfect. It's a continual journey, and it should be the way God set this life up. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to move on. For the sake of time, I really hate to move on, but I want to move on to the last question for today, and we can continue working on. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. Share your purpose statement. If you think you're ready, based on what we've gone through, okay? So we did your who. I'm gonna share this screen. We did your why. Then we did your what. Then we did your who. I want to help who to what because why. Or you could say I help. You can take out the want to if you want to. But we started with the why. We talked about your story and the chapters of your life and what passions has God placed inside of you, right? What, from an early age, some of those things you started to develop as you went through education, as you had professional experiences, as you had family experiences. What is the because that drives you, that feels like this? I feel so drawn to this industry. I feel so drawn to this profession. I feel so drawn to this because of these experiences I've had in my life. So we started with the why. Then we went to the left to the what. We went to the what, which is, what big problem do you feel you felt called to your whole life? It's built up and maybe it's evolved and changed over time, but the idea is there's a what that's driving you, right? There's a what that's pulling you, a problem that you've seen in the world that you feel like, this is something I'd like to spend eternity talking with God about. Like, Jesus and I are hanging out, I would want to be talking about this with him. That's the what. And then we did the who last. Who are you people? Who do you feel this is the target audience? This is the group that I feel that I am meant to serve. Maybe it's been since you were a child. Maybe it's changed as you've gotten older. But who do you feel called to solve? So you should have, I want to help a certain group of people, and target out, try to be specific, not say the whole world. That's not, let's try to be a little more specific, right? Go as specific and then you can back out from there. I want to help what audience, what groups to do something, to address a problem that they're facing. Right? We've heard loneliness, we've heard prison, we've heard lots of really interesting things in here. To what? And then because it needs to be rooted in you. You could say, I want to build hospitals all around the world because I feel like that's a way to minister and I feel drawn to healthcare. But do you have the capabilities right now to do that? Or so it needs to be rooted in you. So that's why we start with you and your because, to understand what things, what is the root that's driving you to want to work both on this problem and with this audience of people. Now, the idea with this statement, as you all are still thinking and writing these out, is if someone walks up to you in your church congregation, could you give them this statement? And if someone walks up to you at your job, if you have another job or career, and they say, what do you do? You hear that a lot. You go to a networking event, you're at some kind of, what do you do? Could you say the same statement to them that you said to the person in church? Or would you have two complete answers? When someone walks up to you, you're at the altar, you've had a beautiful service, and someone says, what do you do? Would you say, well, do you mean here or do you mean out there? In the or can you say, this is what I feel I'm called to do, and wherever I am in life, it's building up to what God is calling me to do. It's for who the people God has called me to serve. It's for the big problem that I feel called to help them with, and it's because it's rooted in this unique journey, this unique story that only I've gone through, that only God has created for me. So let's look at some of these. You all are on fire. And if you need help with your LinkedIn, Kelvin can help with that after going back to your LinkedIn. Okay, here we go. Oh, these are beautiful. All right. Look at these statements. I want to help my generation eradicate barriers between people, impact hearts for Jesus, and see my generation emotionally and spiritually healed from fear, isolation, and depression. That's awesome. That's a great who and a great what, but I'd like to see the because there. Is there a because behind there? Why you? Why is this your specific calling? That would be the next level to add. Awesome. Look at these. Beautiful. Wow. This is powerful. I want to help struggling young people by making music because of my past experience with depression and pornography addiction. I want to write songs that speak to the youth and help them with their struggles. I had no clue how to answer this question when this session first started. Thank you. Awesome. That's fantastic. You hit the who, the what, and the because. So powerful. So powerful. And I would love to hear you say that to someone in your workplace or at your church, that this is something, obviously, depending on the context, that you'd feel comfortable sharing. This is what I'm meant to do on earth. I love it. I love it. I love how there are some high level, and I see some that are still kind of refining. So I challenge you to go forward from here and to refine a bit, right? To refine, continue to hone in, and keep working on this. So this is fantastic. And we're going to wrap this session up with some challenges for you all. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for being so engaged and so plugged in. You making this what it is. So just a reminder, this is the statement. Keep working on this. Reach out if you want. We can keep working with you on it. I want to help. Who to what, because why. It's a great starting point. And it's a great question. You should be able to answer to people who you feel like are in your ministry world or your career world. Now, here's the challenge. Take this purpose statement to your pastor and talk about it. Does your mission statement match the work you're doing for the kingdom, for your professional career? Write back and let us know how it went. Okay. Number 2, make it known. Put your statement out on social media. Connect with and see what's going to happen from it. I have a lot of people who put statements out like this, and they're amazed how suddenly people will come out of the woodwork that want to work with them, that want to help them on this journey. So make it known. And this is what you're on earth to do. And then finally, number 3, if it looks different, if the statement that we're working on, if it looks different than how you're spending your time every day, take some time to reflect and see how you can take action on the mission God is giving you. Awesome. So those are the 3 challenges. Take it to your pastor, talk about it. You may get some new ideas or some new connections. You may start something new with your church congregation. Who knows where this could lead? Have that deeper conversation. Say, this is really what I feel God. Spend time praying about it and have these conversations. And then 2, make it known. Go out, go tell the world. And then number 3, if it looks different, reflect on that. If it looks different than what you're spending the majority of your time doing, reflect on that. And is there a way that you can readjust your life? As hyphens, it's such a beautiful time of life where there's a lot more ahead of you, and there's a lot of really crucial decisions happening in your life right now at this time. So you have this opportunity to help sort of readjust your life so it can be moving towards this mission that God has called you to. Okay, that's it. Kelvin or Jen, do you have anything else you want to share or add on before we wrap up today?
No, just God bless all of you. I'm praying that this was a very helpful and resourceful session for you and interactive. I'd love to see all of the different statements, and we are praying that you walk away with this and follow the call to actions so that God can release you in the remaining months of 2020, but also into 2021 and really the rest of your life for the things that he has for you. So I appreciate the opportunity. And it was outstanding, Philip and Jennifer, your testimonies and the work.
Jen?
I just want to, yeah, there I am. I just want to reiterate, how important it is to continually consider, your career and ministry are the same, and that you can start thinking that way, and you can take this purpose statement. And I would encourage you to go back and, this was done in the last 30 minutes, but really take some time to spend some time crafting this. And as you do, that may change, or even pray about it. I would really say, pray about it, and God will reveal what that purpose is too. And, the people you may minister to may change, just as you saw through Philip's story. So many different people, so many different places, but the mission was always the same. So thank you guys for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you. And a final reminder as we wrap up. Yeah, keep it going. This is so powerful. Tonight, 7:30 Central, we're going to be joining back in Crowdcast. It's going to be a powerful night. So join us at 7:30. Kristen Keller is going to kick us off. It's going to be, there's going to be some interaction. It's going to be fun. We're going to have some new videos you're going to get to see. Tiffany Anderson, you're going to hear from. Sister Clayton, Vesta Mangan, James Wilson was leading us in worship, and Brother Josh Carson with some word tonight. It's going to be powerful. So join us. It's going to be we're keeping the momentum going, and it's beautiful to see the themes connecting across these sessions as God is releasing everyone out to even bigger things in this world. So thank you, everybody. Snaps. Yeah.